Good evening. How are you? I'm not going to use the microphone because I think we can get closer than the use of the microphone. But my name is Raul Martinez. I'm part of Chief Marshall's court-appointed monitoring team. We'll tell you a little bit about ourselves, but I don't think the citizens are here. It's important. The numbers sometimes don't matter. It's the strength behind those numbers that do matter in your involvement. And one of the purposes of this meeting is for all of us, whether it's the monitoring team, the ACLU, or the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office, to hear from you. To hear your concerns, to hear what you like, what you don't like, how you like to have better policing, which is part of the issue of what this is all about. As we all know, there's a federal court order that has mandated monitoring of the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office, and we're working together with them, working together with the ACLU to make your police department a much better police department, and they're all in on this type of changes. It's going to make a better police department, and the better the police department is, the better service that they'll receive. To tell you a little bit about ourselves, our leader is Chief Robert Watcher, who's sitting back there, and we have a lot of experience doing this, with monitoring law enforcement agencies. There's a lot of experience, and we have other members in the room here. I'm not going to bother you introducing who they are. We can meet them afterwards, and they can self-introduce themselves. But we have a lot of experience working in other cities, finding out what the problems are, and the end result of all those projects are the police department becomes a better police department. The policemen like to change because it comes with technology, training, because we're closer to the community that they serve, and the closer the communities to the police department equals better service, a well-satisfied police department. I want to thank the members of the ACLU that are here, and I will give you a chance later on to move on, and some of the other members to speak to you yourself. The members of the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office are here. They are led by Chief Deputy Jerry Sheridan. You'll also get an opportunity to talk to you in a couple of seconds. Why are we here? As we know, there's a long history to this case, whether you're familiar with it or not, but there was an order filed by Judge Mary Snow that mandated that a monitoring team be selected to implement and to oversee some of the actions by the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. This case has been going on for years, has been litigated, and there's still more litigation to be done. I'm sure some of them will talk to you about the history of the case, that they know it better than me. But Judge Snow knows this case in and out. He's lived with this case. He knows every line of every deposition, or every statement, or every testimony that was given in this case, and he knows the Constitution better than most other judges in this country. We have, before we talk to you about what the order is all about, I'd like to ask Ms. Walton to come up and say a couple words on behalf of the ACLU.
Sure. And I'll invite my colleagues from the ACLU to come up too. So welcome to all the folks in the community who took the time to come out tonight. We really appreciate it, just as we've appreciated all the work that members of the community here in the county have put in throughout this litigation and before litigation. And when I say that, I include the command from MCSO, who took the time to come here tonight, and defense counsel, who are from the Maricopa County Attorney's Office as well. These are my colleagues, Alessandra Suller, who is the Executive Director of the ACLU of Arizona, and Josh Bendor, who is an attorney with the ACLU of Arizona. I thought I'd just say a little bit, there aren't many of us here tonight, which gives us a chance to talk together and have a conversation rather than have us talking at you at the top of the room. As you probably know, the lawsuit was brought on behalf of a class defined as Latinos who have been subjected to traffic stops in Maricopa County, or will be subjected to traffic stops in the county. And we had a trial in the case a couple years ago now. And there was a trial ruling in May of 2013. And then in October of 2013, the federal judge, Murray Snow, federal district judge, issued a very detailed and substantive order that, based on policies and practices of the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office that he found to be unconstitutional, certain steps needed to be taken in order to reform those policies and practices and bring them in line with the U.S. Constitution. And one thing I really want to emphasize is that I've been here all week. We've been working on a couple of very important pieces of the Justice Remedial Order. And there have been a lot of command from MCSO, prosecutors from Maricopa County Attorney's Office, who are all committed, just as we are representing the plaintiff class, to making those reforms come into being and be successful. And so it's been a long road, and one thing I guess I'll leave you with a thought, and I'd invite Josh or Alessandro to weigh in too, is that it's really important, as Chief Martinez from the monitor team said, that the community and the entire community, wherever it is, whether it's here in Maricopa County, San Francisco, where I live, to feel that their government agencies are serving them and representing them and following the law and the Constitution. And this lawsuit was very important to all the members of the plaintiff class because there was a great deal of fear throughout the Latino community in this county that they weren't enjoying the same rights that other community members enjoy. And through the litigation, the plaintiffs prevailed. And that would not have happened if it were not for the hard work of people in the community. Not just members of the class, the plaintiff class, but all members of the community who wanted to make sure that the sheriff's office was serving the entire community. And that's an ongoing process. The command staff of MCSO are in a place where they're as committed to the reforms that the court has required just as much as anyone else. And the thing I'll leave you with is that the community and all members of the community are part of that. The monitor team, the court, and plaintiff's counsel are here in the county to work with people who live here, to make sure that we hear about concerns, to make sure that we get feedback on how the sheriff's office is doing, and representing the plaintiffs as the plaintiffs' lawyers, we're interested in hearing from you and from all members of the community. Because at the end of the day, we at the ACLU, along with our co-counsel, really see this as something that affects everyone. And it's not just a matter for Latinos in this county, it's a matter for everybody in the community to come together on, including the sheriff's office, because everyone in the sheriff's office is a part of the community too, to make sure that the law is complied with, that everybody feels that they have equal rights, and that there's a fair process and equality of the law. So with that, I will, unless Alessandro or Josh wants to add anything.
I just did want to add that there are, this is year one of, this is the second meeting in a series of 7 meetings that will be held on an annual basis, one in each district. And so that's going to be one of the primary ways that we're going to be communicating and soliciting feedback from the community. So this is the second meeting, and there will be others for the remainder of the year. So thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thank you, Martinez.
Thank you. I'd like to bring up Chief Deputy Jerry Sherman, who's the second in command of the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. Chief Sherman. Thank you.
Well, I guess since the city brought Kurt's team up, you guys want to come on? Shut up. You take this thing. I can handle this myself. If I need a backup, I'll call you. But thank you for the opportunity, Chief. My name is Jerry Sheridan. I'm going to tell you a little story about myself, who the second person in charge of the Sheriff's Office is. I joined the Sheriff's Office in 1978. That's 36 years ago. I know what you're thinking. God, he looks so good for being here 36 years. But my first area of patrol, my first assignment, was the Queen Creek area. Hunt Highway was a dirt road. Macaroli Farms was Queen Creek. Orange Orchards were Queen Creek. A deputy named Chuck Popsman was 98. My serial number is 496. And he took me in his car and he drove me around to meet the ranchers, to meet the people that were Queen Creek. He took me, and the reason I tell this story is he took me into the orange orchards, into the migrant labor housing, which was nothing but cement block house with roof, no coolers, no nothing. And the people there, the migrant workers, came out and surrounded the car, and when Chuck got out, they embraced him. Because what we represented at the sheriff's office was protection against the people that were stealing their money and raping their women. And my goal is to get back to that reality of we are here to protect everyone in this community. We got away from that for a while. Police have changed in those 36 years since I've been here. So it was my goal as the chief deputy, which I've had that job for approximately 4 years, to return to that perception in the community that we are the protectors for every member of society in this community. So with that, one of the things that we've done is absolutely fully embrace the judge's order, because it's given us a mechanism to make some of the reforms necessary, to give us some of the tools necessary to make the sheriff's office a better place for my deputies to work and for their law enforcement skills to be practiced on the street. And that's what we're doing. So I brought a list of things that the captain put together for me about some of the reforms we've made since January, some of the things we've already accomplished since over the last 8 months. And I'll read through them real quick. I don't want to bore you. But some of the things that weren't on the list was we've promoted people, we've promoted supervisors. One of the things that the judge noticed was we didn't have enough leadership on the ground. And so he wanted us to have a ratio of sergeants to deputies, so to make sure we had that leadership, we had that supervision in place. And we've even added, we're in the process of adding another 20 supervisors, so there's no lack of supervision out there in the field, and that's very important, that leadership for our deputy sheriffs. We just had the Board of Supervisors yesterday morning approve a Bureau. We changed the name, so it's hard for me to remember the name. The Bureau of Internal Oversight, BIO. Okay, I haven't met them because we were calling it the Office of Inspector General, and we didn't like that name, and so the Bureau of Internal Oversight, which is an internal mechanism to audit our own behavior. So someday, when the monitor team is not here to look over our shoulders, we have our own set of independent people within the organization to audit and monitor exactly what we're doing and to overlook all the indicators of our behavior. And that's one of the things that we've put in place since January. We've been able to get systems, computer-generated systems that tracks the traffic stops, how long, who we stopped, why we stopped them, all those things that are very important, that were very important to the court, and very important to us to make sure we're not violating anybody's civil rights. We all, as deputy sheriffs, put our hand up. We took an oath to support the Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution and laws of the state of Arizona. That's one little piece of that. And that is very important to all of us. And we didn't intentionally go about trying to violate people's civil rights. And so with these mechanisms in place now, we're going to be able to much better monitor ourselves and correct our own behavior if we have any aberrant behavior. So with that, one of the other mechanisms we put in place place was something called IAPRO, which is a system where if a deputy sheriff gets complaints from a citizen or use of force complaints and things, it will alert us to the fact that, hey, you may have a problem over here in this area. We have approximately 740 deputies that are out there in Maricopa County, which is 9,226 square miles. Queen Creek is all the way on the southeast corner of Maricopa County. And we go all the way over to about 50 miles to the California border and about 50 miles to the Mexican. Maricopa County is huge, and it's difficult for us to keep an eye on everyone, but we're getting those systems. And again, I have to, I know it's going to sound weird, thank the judge for the order in allowing us and giving us the opportunity to get these systems that we need to become a better law enforcement agency. And with that too, I'd be remiss if I didn't also give a plug to your Board of Supervisor, Denny Barney, because he has been very supportive of the Sheriff's Office and giving us the tools we need and the money we need. Obviously, these things are very expensive that we're talking about to better run the Sheriff's Office. So, and best speech is a short one, right? So let me just go down some of the things that we've done real quick since January of this year. We've conducted 15 audits and inspections. We've amended or written 11 policy and procedures, including the Code of Conduct and Bias-Free Policing. And we've issued 16 briefing boards in order to help comply with the order. We've developed a curriculum. We're going to begin teaching in about a week and a half. Deputy sheriffs for about 20 hours, and all posse members, by the way. Training in 4th Amendment, 14th Amendment. Those were the two amendments that the judge found that we were violating. And we're also including a bias-free policing block of training. We work very closely with the ACLU, the monitors team, and the Maricopa County Attorney's Office to draft these lesson plans. We have specific supervisor training to help us comply with the court order. We've improved our e-learning system, but those systems that I just mentioned were in the classroom with instructors, but we've also implemented computer-based training for the deputies so they can sit at the substation about half a mile south of here and do training even on a daily basis if necessary. We've implemented that track system that I talked to you about, and one of the downsides to the public, maybe it's a lot easier for deputies to write tickets because all they have to do is take your driver's license and swipe it kind of like you do in an ATM, and it builds out the data on the traffic ticket, so it's a lot easier to write tickets. So this might not be a good thing. But it also helps us identify how long they've got people stopped, who they've stopped, where, why, and all those things. So again, we can monitor their activity. And we've already conducted 6 audits and inspections of that traffic stop data since this system came into implementation on April 1st. I think it was April 1st. With the implementation of the IAPRO, we've also established an early intervention system unit where we have a dedicated staff that overlooks all this information and audits the systems. We're constantly amending our code of conduct. It's very serious policy that we have, behavior of our deputy sheriffs, and we've added some components to help comply with the order. even prior to the judge finding us responsible, we had published an integrity, accountability, and community brochure. We established a community outreach division. The Outreach Bureau, Chief Chagoya is in charge of that, and we're going to hold regular meetings also over and above the ones that the court requires us to. And we hold citizens academies, and I would invite you, if you were interested, to see Chief Chagoya at the end of the meeting if you were interested in getting involved and seeing exactly what we do at the Sheriff's Office and how we do things. And that is, yes.
Just want to mention, I'm with the Sheriff's Office, that we are having a Spanish language Citizens Academy, so folks who only speak Spanish are able to come in, learn about the office from Spanish-speaking instructors, and that's starting in October. So if you know of anyone interested in that, please contact us at the Sheriff's Office.
Thanks. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. You may have some questions as to what is the role of the market. And we've got to explain to you this. We're new. We work for the court. We're not part of the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. We're not part of the plaintiffs. We're like the umpire and the home plate in the baseball game. We call it the season, safe or out, based on the rules, and the rules are the order. And since we've been in place since February, we call some safes, we call some outs, we call them as you see them. The experience that our team has, hundreds of years of law enforcement experience, economists, professors, we try to bring best police practices that they may implement as suggestions. And some are not suggestions. Some, as if the order says you got to do it with the left hand, we're going to make sure that the policy says left hand. And we're going to check their officers, their deputies in the street, whether they're doing it with the left hand or not. If they're doing it with the left hand, they're successful. If they're not doing it with the left hand, they're not successful. This is a process. It's not a quick process. It's not a process that's done in a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. It takes years for that to occur. An organization doesn't change from one day to the other. Policing organization, I've worked with them for many years. Human beings are resistant to change, but this is positive change. But this is the role that we work for a federal judge. We don't work for anybody else. We're not impacted by anybody else on these issues. One of the things that the order says is to hold meetings like this. The purpose of the meetings like this is not to bring us out here and have a fun day in retreat. It's to hear from you. You should have an input. You should have a say in how you police. Not just what they think that this area needs. You have your needs, you have your concerns, and the policing strategy should be based on your needs. If you have problems after school, with the kids speeding, whatever it is, graffiti, so on and so forth, that should all be built into the policing strategies that they implement. I mean, they know crime because they see the stats, and I'm sure they share with you every now and then. But what bothers you as a citizen? It's like you hire somebody to paint your house. They're not going to paint the color that they want. You're going to tell them, I want it yellow, I want it brown, you're paying for that service. And you pay for us. I mean, when we work for you, you're paying our salary, so you have a say so how policing occurs. Some of the chapters that the order has, and the order is very lengthy, and it's very specific, and there's very few interpretations in the order. It's very black and white. And Chief Chairman has mentioned just some of them, but one of the first things that he touched on is the implementation. The creation of an implementation unit, which is basically the unit inside the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office that is responsible to make sure that all the things that are in the order are implemented. Captain Snyder, Skinner is in charge of that unit. And we have a very good relationship with Captain Skinner and his staff. They work very hard. I'm sure they're not thrilled over here. It's constant work, but that's the nature of the police. They're committed to change the police work. The order also talks about policies and procedures, and that's one of the keys to good law enforcement. We have good, solid practices. We have provided a lot of best practices. They've done a lot of research on the best practices that they have, and it's not just to have a policy, but the policy must be followed. We have done quite a few site visits to the districts, to see how they're operating, look at the paperwork, talk to the deputies, talk to the supervisors, and we gathered some information, we made some recommendations, we made some suggestions, that for the things we have observed. One of the keys to policing is supervision. I was chief of my police department. It really doesn't matter who the chief is. The sergeant is the most important position that any police department has. The supervisor of the field is the one that's going to ensure good police service and that the deputies or police officers are out there doing what they should be doing. And one of the things this order talks about, number of supervisors, the ratio. You can't have a sergeant in charge of 100 people if you have 99 people out there without any supervision whatsoever. So he mandates a ratio of number of supervisors, and one supervisor can have no more than 12 deputies under him or her. So that is a good starting point. Maybe number 12 maybe is high, it's too high, but at least you make sure that no more than 12 are reporting to one single supervisor, all the time. And that supervisor works with those 12 people all the time. It also talks about special operations. Anytime they're going to do any pre-planned operations, they have to create an operational plan and to send it to the monitoring team and also to the plaintiffs to see what type of operations they're going to do, and all the legwork that they did, that the operation is race neutral, that there's no bias, that is done for a good purpose, that there are results from that operation. And 10 days after that operation, we have to give us the results. Okay, we did this, the DUI operation, we did a drug sting, whatever the operations are that falls under the criteria of the order, they provide to us an after-action report, and we take a look at what happened. And we also show up. We will show up. We have local people in the team that live right here, not in this part of the county, but in other parts of the county, that who will show up to this operation to make sure they're being done as per the book. Like I said, the umpire no play, we're going to call it as we see it. Training is one of the keys to this. And, as the chief spoke about, starting September 8th, training is going to occur to all the deputies of the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office, to all the volunteers of the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office, on issues such as the 4th Amendment and the 14th Amendment. Those were the two key issues that the judge found that the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office was in violation of. So you want to make sure that the deputy understands what are the rules, what can you do, what can you not do. So that if the deputy knows the rules, he'd be better equipped to follow the law and make sure he or she doesn't get in trouble by doing something that maybe he misheard during the training, he misunderstood what the training was all about, and now he or she is getting in trouble, being taken to court, maybe getting arrested for violating something that he thought or she thought he was doing right. It's important that the officers were trained. The training is being done not just by Maricopa County trainers, but trainers are from the outside. Both sides have provided trainers. The trainers are being trained, so they're all training on the same mindset, the same lesson plan, the same message. So there's not a lot of, well, I think it should be done this way, things should be done the other way, so on and so forth. It's a very strict training, so they abide by what the order says. So there's very little gray areas on the training. All right. The traffic stop documentation, it mandates that any time the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office stops anybody for a traffic ticket, it doesn't have to be Latino, it doesn't matter who they are, that they create a form, that they give you a receipt, and they capture the data. The time that it took to make sure that they don't hold you or me longer than they should. If they give me a ticket and release me, that's it. I may have been speeding or didn't stop completely at the stop sign. I'll go to court and do what I need to do. But if they hold me there for half an hour, 45 minutes to an hour, for no reason whatsoever, that data collection is going to show that. And there's tracking mechanisms they have created to where they're auditing that function to see whether Deputy Jones has a habit to hold people that they stop longer than the average fare, than the average deputy is holding people. They're creating what's called an early identification system. And that's a great tool for all police departments to have. What it does is identifies problematic officers before they blow up. And if they're doing this, they're doing that, and sometimes they have personal problems. They may be going through a divorce, something at home that's bugging them, whatever. There's an employee assistance program that can help that deputy, with their personal problem that's affecting them at work. We all know if you have a problem at home, you're going to bring that to work at some point. But if you have an officer that's creating complaints, that is late to work, that is doing things that you don't expect from a professional police officer, it starts identifying that officer pretty quickly to the supervisor. Hey, Officer Jones, talk to Officer Jones. He's problematic. The commanding officer can call him in. You know, a one-on-one conversation. What is going on? How can we help? It's a training. Is it, you know, do you need days off? You know, is there an issue we can help you with? You know, you're dealing with a problem before it's front page in the newspaper that he blew up when something happened that nobody wants to hear about. Misconduct and complaints, you know, they are reworking the whole complaint system. They track complaints, quicker complaints are getting back to you. You know, there's a one centralized complaint tracking system that they have. That in the district, whatever. And when somebody files a complaint, you know, the department logs it in, so we know that you filed a complaint. Okay. At the end, you know, it gets resolved one way or the other, but there's a mandatory tracking system for all complaints that come in, and you're notified at the end of the investigation, your interview, whatever it is, and the results are what they are. One thing, what have we done since February, since we started? Well, you know, they created the implementation unit. We have done a lot of site visits to the districts. We've spoken to some of the captains. We haven't had a chance to visit Captain Rice, but we'll be talking to him, I'm sure, pretty soon, and talk to him about what's happening in the district. Not just to Captain Rice. We talk to the captains, we talk to the deputies. You know, we look at our police vehicles, we go to the roll call room. You know, what's going on here? What are your calls for service? What is your biggest problem? What is your biggest challenge? So we get to hear from that police officer, that deputy, what are the issues that they're dealing with. The training that we spoke about, that's about to start, we also have looked at a number of policies that they have created, and we have provided feedback. They make changes, feedback again, so they're back and forth. Some of the policies are now at the point that they're good to go. But once you create a policy, you know, our monitoring is not just create a policy and software is great. Maybe the policy is great, but is every deputy aware of the policy? We will take a look and make sure that Deputy Jones get a hold of the policy. Does he know about the policy? Show me, Steve Sheridan, that you trained Deputy Jones on the policy. So we'll make sure that Deputy Jones went through that training with the policy. Then we'll go out at some point and figure out, is Deputy Jones following the policy? If Deputy Jones, if there's a policy that says that he must fill out a report within X amount of days, we'll pull all the reports from Deputy Jones. Did he do it on a timely basis? If he did it on a timely basis, it means what the policy says. If it's not, there'll be a negative count towards that. And what's good is, it's something that we're doing, but something they're going to be doing too. It's a self-auditing, you know. At some point, they're not going to need us to be doing this. If they're doing this job themselves, if they're making sure that they're all complying with the order, and beyond the order, forget the order, they're all complying with good policing practices. This is what it's all about. It's not just the black and white of the order. These are good policing practices that most police departments are doing throughout the United States. Because of whatever reason, whether it's funding or whatever, you know, they weren't doing it at some point, and now there's a mandate that they have to do it. They have to do it pretty quickly. They have to do it very thoroughly, because when they don't do it very thoroughly, we'll find out. You know, and we also have the ACLU that's looking at all those policies too, that's looking at all this compliance too, and they'll make sure that we're doing our job at the same time. One of the things that we've got to make sure that is very clear is, and they understand this, that the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office lacks any authority to enforce immigration laws. What was happening before in 2006 and 2007, whether ICE is training or ICE provided road instructions, or whether they're doing something they shouldn't have done, you know, they're out of the immigration law enforcement business. That's what ICE is all about. That's what other federal agencies are all about. That's what we get federal taxes, you know, for those agencies to do their job, whether they do it well or not. That's not here or there, but that's not a local law enforcement function. That's functions for other agencies to enforce. And most of those enforcement actions are civil actions, not criminal actions that require handcuffs to be enforced. I'm not sure if any of you have any questions, ideas, thoughts.
Sure. Talking with a father of a policeman down in Tucson, his son claims that he can follow a car for 2 minutes and have probable cause to pull him over. That doesn't sound good to me for some reason.
Don't go to Tucson. That's it's simple to say, that you can follow anybody, and sooner or later that person is going to commit a traffic violation if you follow them long enough. But is that good policing?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Is that what you pay for my salary for? For me to follow you until you create a traffic violation and write your ticket. And what's the benefit of that? Now, if you're doing traffic enforcement from the school, that's it. If somebody's doing 50 miles an hour in the school zone when it's 10, 15 miles an hour, then they deserve a ticket. And not to say that tickets should not be written, but what's the purpose to follow a citizen for X amount of time until they got you? I got you now. So on and so. And most policemen have better things to do than to follow somebody around. Most policemen, some policemen do enjoy traffic enforcement. Traffic enforcement is part of our job. Because if not, people will be driving all over the place. I understand they will follow ATVs in this area, which means so on and so forth. So that's why rules are created. That's why speed limits are created. That's why limitations are created to do that. But typically, that's not the police. If you have a concern, if there's a traffic issue in this area, and you do a special traffic operation because cars are speeding in front of your house, and you do special operations, then maybe that may make sense to do some tailored enforcement towards that. But just to follow people around for 2 minutes, or 20 minutes, or 40 minutes, or an hour, or whatever, it's not a good use of police resources, not a good use of your tax dollars.
No, go ahead. See somebody else.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I'm curious, I guess, on a couple points, and it's probably I need education. So, where could I go to get a copy of the order? And what precipitated the monitoring? Was it the ACLU case alone that precipitated the need for MCSO to be monitored? And if that's the case, I guess that's the way it works, right?
Okay, let me break up into pieces. I believe the order is in the MCSO website. So you can go on the website. Maybe the ACLU also has it on their website. So there's 2 places you can look at it, download it, and have a copy.
Okay.
It's it's like 1,500 pages, right?
There are a few orders.
Yes.
So I think the ones you might be interested in looking at are, there's the ruling on the trial. We had a trial in front of a judge, not just a jury. So the judge wrote a 142-page order with his findings based on the evidence. And then the injunction order, which is from October of last year, with, I forget how many pages, it's just shorter than the trial rules. 59 pages. They're both on the ACLU website, and I guess on the MCSO website as well.
MCSO.org.
Now, why a monitor? The judge, when he issued his findings, he introduced in the idea of a monitor. And the reason of the monitor is for him, for you, for all of us, to make sure that there's an umpire at home plate who's called to say, all right, once that happens. It's not unusual. Seattle, New Orleans, Detroit, Oakland, Niagara Falls, etc., Puerto Rico. There's a lot of cities that it happens. And like I said before, the byproduct, even though initially may be painful, even though initially nobody wants somebody else looking over their shoulder. Nobody likes that. I wouldn't like that at the beginning to do like in front of the department. I went through that at some point in the 70s. And that was going on. And nobody likes somebody looking over you and saying, did you do it right? So you found a mistake, because that's an issue of the business. At the end result is a better police department. And it's a better police department to serve you.
Right.
And that's the model.
So the idea of self-audit should prevent some of these things from happening.
And that's one of the keys to implementing the order. It's not just for us to catch it. It's the new unit that the chief judge spoke about, BIO or whatever. There's going to be to catch things, and correct them before we catch them. So when we say, look, Officer Jones used the right hand versus the left hand to do it, you're right, here it is. You know, we saw it last month, we're sending him to training, so he knows what the left hand is versus the right hand, so he will do it again, so on and so forth. So it's self-audit, because you want that. You know, you want a police department, a policeman who's doing it right, versus a policeman that may be guessing. That's why the training is important. A policeman that's out there on their own, that's why supervision is important. There's a sergeant out there who's showing up on calls, not just in the office, because he's so busy doing paperwork that he can't get out on the street. Or he's got so many men and women that report to him that he can't keep up with where they're at. The supervisor is out there showing up on calls, talking to the city, talking to the office, hey, any help that you need, can I help you? Is there any area that you have some weaknesses that I can work with? Let me ride with you tomorrow. Let me get in the car with you tomorrow, you and I ride together. And you go out there and you ride for a few hours, so you can see how that deputy is doing. You can only do that if you have the right amount of supervisors, and the supervisor has time to do that, and if you have a committed supervisor.
So just one more. So the mechanism right now, the self-audit, the order, and I guess I'd like to know, is there a timeline for that order? I'm sure there are different timelines for various things.
I mean, there's timelines all throughout the order.
Okay.
These things must happen within 180 days. These things must happen within 6 months. These things must happen within a year. These things must happen within 2 years. So some of the things we've been talking to them about, there's a requirement in the order for them to have video recordings in the patrol cars. And that's a whole national change that's been going on in a lot of agencies, because we all see what's happening outside of St. Louis, Missouri. If a recorder would have been on there, would we have the incident that's happening now? Who knows? Who knows what that recorder may have recorded, may have seemed good for the officer, bad for the officer, so on and so forth. So there's a whole push nationally for recorders to go up. There's a time frame for that to occur, where an officer is going to wear a lapel mic, or a hat mic, or a tie mic, or a mic recorder that's going to record every time they stop you, from the beginning to the end. And that recording will be there. Will show that if the officer was disrespectful to you, it's going to show up in the video. And it forces the officer to be more careful what he does and says. Sometimes it protects the officer against people that file false complaints against the officer. Oh, here's the video. I was very polite, and I didn't say anything. I was very respectful to her. And historically, in most police departments that install those type of things, it clears the officers from many allegations that occur. The officer does something stupid, he or she's got to pay the piper for doing that. You don't need those type of policemen. Your police department. And unfortunately, every agency has some. It's a few. It's the large majority of the cops are good cops who are out there because they want to do a good job. They're family members of their community, because they don't bring them from another country, to police the streets. Most of them live here. Your neighbors, the kids go to school, your school, but there has to be rules that they have to follow, and most of them don't want that bad cop next to them. They impact the same badge that they all wear. And so we reached the paper, Officer Jones was arrested. You see your policeman outside the street. I wonder if that's like Officer Jones. It subverges the badge that they all wear in the real world. Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Mr. Martinez, I just want to thank you, and I want to thank the members of the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. As a citizen who has constantly told my children, my grandchildren, to respect the law, it is very encouraging to see that out of this bad situation that I witnessed myself in Maricopa County, that I see the possibility of very good things happening, because some of our relatives, some of our friends, some of our neighbors are members of the Sheriff's Office. I have some nephews who are members of the Sheriff's Office, and I think that out of this negative situation, that good things are going to be happening, because I want to see law enforcement respected by everybody, and I think community policing with best practices is I'm very encouraged by what I heard Deputy Chief Sheridan and yourself.
Thank you, sir. And like you said, sometimes bad things have to happen before things go well. We all hope that it doesn't have to happen that way. But, that's what typically happens in some agencies. There's a big incident that creates a lot of uproar, a lot of community involvement, a lot of community sentiment, so on and so forth. That forces the change. But the byproduct, when it's a year, 2 years, 5 years, or 10 years from now, it's going to be a better police department that you can say, you'll be president, that's my police department. And that police will say, that's my community. Yes, sir.
Well, Paul, I'm glad to hear that things are going forward and be better. I do have a complaint and a question. Whose choice was it to select these sites for these meetings? Many people are interested in attending. This is way out. They're almost in Pinal County. And it should have been held somewhere where the community could attend. We drove almost 45 minutes to get here, and it's not a place familiar for all of us. And I think the choice of site says a lot about the willingness of somebody to really keep the community informed and to go forward in good faith.
And we apologize for that. The order mandates that we have at least between 1 and 3 community meetings per district. This is District 6. We picked a location. We're not going to we picked a location that we were told that this was a good centralized location for District 6.
You should have asked the community.
Well, and we should do it. And we attempted to ask as
I mean,
many.
if you drive 2 blocks over, you're in Pinal County. Okay, that is not a centralized location for any of the districts.
And I can guarantee you that next time we come to District 6, we'll be at a different location. One that hopefully gets better. And we held our first meeting in Phoenix a month ago.
June?
In June, and there were over 200 people.
Exactly.
Now, you're right. It's a different community. People can walk there versus drive. For us, it took a long time just to get here, but we're learning from this. We're learning what other places that we can get to hear from you because, I really don't want to hear from you, Jared, just walking or whatever. We talk to them all the time. We don't have to come out here to talk to them. So we want to hear from you. The purpose of the meeting is to hear from you. And if you have any complaints or concerns, we have forms you can fill out and give us the concerns. The monitor, Chief Marshall has been mandated by the judge. If you give us any complaint or concern, we'll follow up.
It's considered a complaint.
It's well taken. Thank you. And thank you for coming.
Along the lines, apparently I can't get the other.
You're right.
It was a long drive.
Yes, it was.
But is there a continuance of these meetings?
Yes.
And when's the next one?
The next meeting is going to be in Guadalupe, September 24th.
September 24th.
And we're struggling with how to get the word. The ACLU has helped us as best they can. We have put some advertising in local radio stations, local newspapers, which is La Voz, and some of the local papers. But if you have any suggestions on how to better get the word out, because there's a lot of money here to do this, and they'd rather be here to get the message across to as many people as they can. If they did it in Facebook, they put a message in Facebook.
There was a great deal of interest.
Okay.
People have talked about it. We've been, in various community groups who have been talking about it. They just all felt it was way too long.
Maybe Chris can get your number for the next time we come here. We'll call you personally. Look, the next meeting is going to be at this location, so on and so forth. You can get the word out, and hopefully we'll do it closer so more people can come out.
So are you almost done with the community meetings, or?
No, this is the first meeting in Phoenix was a central meeting.
Okay.
It was not district oriented, it was the entire Maricopa County, and we did it in central Phoenix to do that. This is the first time we go out into a district. We'll be going to Guadalupe, which is District 1, which is, we're going to have another meeting in October. I'm not sure if we picked already what district.
October or early November.
Right, so, just about every month, we're going to be out here, and hopefully as the months go by, we're going to tell you, this is what the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office accomplished, this is what they haven't accomplished. They have to try a little harder. We're going to give you the scorecard at home plate. We call them out 3 times, but they will say it's 20 times, whatever it is. So you know how to do it from a neutral person. And again, we're not, the chief works for the federal judge. Not for the church, not for the ACLU. We talk to both sides, we converse with both sides, but I mean, we're the party in the middle program.
Is there a schedule in advance on the meetings that you have that we can get?
We haven't gotten to that point yet, because we didn't want to make the mistake that maybe we're doing today, where we're saying a schedule with District 6, a schedule here, and you're telling us this is not the place to come. On the first go around, as we go through districts, this is one of the questions we're asking: is this the right place to hold the meeting? We say no. So why do a schedule for the whole year that says, the library, so on and so forth, when the first meeting is telling us, and a lot of people want to come, but you're so far out that they couldn't come.
Well, no, it's good to hear that you're going to be holding meetings in various districts.
I just wanted you to understand that these districts are the patrol districts, and that we are required to hold at least one meeting per year in each of the patrol districts. And so Queen Creek is a district in itself. So anywhere in Queen Creek, and like he said, because we're not really from the area, we didn't know which part of Queen Creek might be a little bit closer in, but it was certainly not intentionally chosen to be further away. We just knew we had to cover District 6, which was Queen Creek. So that's how it was chosen.
Thank you. I apologize for being late, and perhaps you went through all these questions that I was going to
No questions about that.
And scheduled in advance, I'm just wondering, are these meetings going to last the whole year, or?
Yes. Yes. We must hold between 1 to 3 meetings, and Chris could correct me if I'm wrong, per district, per year. And it doesn't say after year 1 we'll stop. The only reason we will stop is this: we will stop because there's no interest. If there's no interest, if the citizens don't care, if there's no interest in how to hear from a neutral party how the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office is doing, then the chief will tell the judge, Your Honor, don't waste your time when you're voting these, because that could be interfered. We hope to God that will never happen, because that's the apathy that you don't want. You want that citizens to care about their police department and care dearly about the police department. Even though sometimes the caring creates problems, it creates issues, it creates changes in the police department. But again, you figure it out, and you want policing to be done in a way that that meets the needs of your neighborhood. It doesn't mean you're involved in giving the instructions to do that. That's when you pay the professionals to do that. But they should focus on the priorities that impact your neighborhood, impact your kids, and impact your way of life. I guess that's a good thing.
And also, just to clarify, the next one would be 137.4, and then Avondale is also is a separate district as well. So it's covering, as Chief Sheriff said, a large contract.
But if you have any suggestions on how to better get the word out, we're all ears. We spend money in advertising in newspapers and radio stations and the Arizona Republic and so on and so forth. But if that's not the medium that people in different areas listen, read to find out what's happening,
Who do we contact, or who do we call?
I'll give you my phone number. We have an office number. We have a website. We have an email address. You can send us information. We have people who call us and we call them back. We have people who send us emails and we reply to those things pretty quickly. When there's a complaint or a concern or allegation, to somebody from the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office, we're open to that. That's the purpose, for us to be the eyes and ears for the judge who wants to find out what's happening. And the chiefs and the judges chambers all the time. We give him appraisals of what's going good and what's going not so good. And this judge is a very smart man. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I guess I had
It sounds really, really wonderful, all the changes. I'm sad as a citizen that this is necessary. I'm also concerned about the apathy that the sheriff has created and how you're going to be able to overcome that in the citizens and also in the deputies.
Well, in the deputies, the message has to come from the top. It's, you know, and if they're not complying with the rules, we will find that right away. I mean, we're cops, we're ex-cops, with a lot of experience to do that. So we can read what's happening, we can read the reports, we know what's good policing, what's bad policing, and we're not shy to tell them, you're off base. This is wrong. And there's a matrix on scoring them, and unless they're getting an A plus, you know, they're not going to get off this monitoring thing. The monitoring is costing money. It's not a cheap thing to bring us here and to do this, but it's part of the method that the courts use. So they say we want to get off this monitoring thing as soon as we can, so comply. And I can tell you this: we have gone and spoken to the deputies, many deputies, and they want change. They welcome change. They're welcome to have a better trained police officer. They're welcome to have a better equipped police department. They would love to have a police department that's loved by the community, that's accepted by the community. And we hope that when all these things are in place, it's not going to happen in 6 weeks or 6 months, you know, that starts happening. You know, that you get to know who your policeman is. And maybe you know already. You know, that you have your neighborhood officer. In community policing, it's not something new, something you know for many years. But you know, the concept is you should know who your policeman is. Your policeman should know you. You know, and those way your police is there 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, because the policemen don't work. But I mean, it's that bond that you have that you can go outside and say, Officer Jones, you know, the people across the street, you know, they're doing this. People are coming at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, so and so. And you would only do that if you trust the police officer. If you know, if you don't know, it's none of your business. Why get involved? Why stick your nose into something that's none of your business, so and so. But when you have that bond, and it works both ways.
Well, I guess it would be a lot easier for me to have that bond than if I was Hispanic.
Well, I'm not sure why that would be so. Most of the police forces are Hispanic. Most police forces in Dallas are not Hispanic. It's a percentage of the department that is Hispanic, and that the bond has nothing to do with the language. The bond has to do with trust. Whether you trust that police officer that's out there protecting you, protecting your family, and doing what's best for your community versus what's best for who knows what. So that's what the bond's all about.
So I hear what you're saying, ma'am. As plaintiff's lawyers, I had a thought that maybe you could tie together what your comment was with the gentleman here. This case came about because people who were brave in the community stepped forward and said, we see a problem here, and we don't think that the sheriff's office is applying the law fairly and is not protecting everybody's rights. In fact, we think they're violating the rights of Latinos, of Hispanics in this county. And it's because of people who were brave who came forward that the case came about. And I think that we've heard from Chief Sheridan at the Sheriff's Office, and we've heard from Chief Martinez from the Monitors team about various things that have come about that they're doing, now undertaking to change the system. But I wanted to emphasize in response to your question, too, that this is an ongoing process. I think you're totally right. I think that there is apathy that on the part of some people in the community coming out of fear, right? Either I am Latino, I'm a person of color, and I have relatives who are undocumented, or I'm an undocumented immigrant myself, and I'm afraid to come forward. And I think that it's going to be a long process to bring everybody in the community in a place where they're comfortable coming forward. But people have, because people have been brave. And I did want to mention that what you heard from your grandson in Tucson is actually, we heard that during the trial. There were Maricopa County deputies and sergeants who said, yeah, of course, any police officer, if you follow someone in a car long enough, you will find a violation and be able to pull that card over. That's just a fact. So police officers, sheriff's deputies, they have a lot of power, right? And the question is, how do we, as a community, make sure that they don't abuse their power, that they are using that power for good? And this agency has come to a point in time where they're saying, it's voluntary, we're instituting these reforms because the judge has told us we need to, but they're doing it willingly at this point. We've heard from Chief Sheridan himself, because they want the agency to be better. But the community also has to keep an active role in that. And if people in the community say, look, this sheriff's deputy followed me for 5 miles, I was nervous driving because I could see that patrol car behind me, and then they stopped me, I'm Latino, and I think it's because I'm Latino. We want to hear that as plaintiff's lawyers. I think the monitor team wants to hear that. And I think MCSO wants to hear that too, and they're going to look into it. We're all going to look into that. And so I hear what you're saying. I think that there are a lot of people who might be afraid to come forward, but I think there are a lot of us, including people who took the time, like you did, to come to the meeting tonight because you care about what's happening in this county, to encourage everyone to come forward to say, I think they're falling short here. I think that I have a complaint to make. And, I think we all have a responsibility to make ourselves available among those of us who are standing up here talking, and people in the community have a responsibility to come forward with that information and to encourage our friends and neighbors to come forward. And I think Chief Martinez can talk about the different ways that the monitor team will take complaints, including from people who are afraid to come forward, and be public about that.
Can I have equal time? Sure. It's political time of year, right? Everybody wants equal time. That apathy, distrust, dislike, or whether it's the sheriff, the sheriff's office, and all that, I know from my core, and I know the sheriff from his core, and all the members of the office in the audience today are committed to this change. But we also need you to be open-minded enough to accept that fact and help us change. Because if you're closed-minded about the change, that's never going to happen. That perception that people walk around with that sheriff's office is a bunch of bigots, racists, those kinds of words that are thrown out there rather freely, that doesn't help. That's why I offered, and I will extend the offer again, for you to come and see what we're all about and come to the Citizens Academy. It's a long way from Queen Creek because we hold it down at our training center at 35th Avenue in Durango. Maricopa County is a huge county, so we do drive for hours sometimes to get from one place to another. So I would encourage all of you to please help us change with an open mind. And we heard from an individual in the group that has family members. I don't know who they are or where they work in the sheriff's office. We have 3,800 employees there. That his family members, his people that he knows, his neighbors, the deputies, I would assume, I don't know, that have embraced this change. And you heard that from him, and I've never met this man before. So we are committed to this change, but we cannot do it alone without you helping us. So I would ask that you participate in our Citizens Academy and come see what we're really all about.
Chief Deputy, there are Hispanic deputies in MCSO, correct?
That's correct.
Approximately how many? What percentage?
24%.
And that was before the order.
Right. I could go on and on about the sheriff, and in that is what he's created in the office. When he became the sheriff, one of the 21 years ago, he opened the office up to hire people with resident alien cards, with green cards. They cannot be deputy sheriffs because state law says you have to be a United States citizen. But he opened up the employment for civilians and detention officers to people that are here legally with a green card. We have people that represent over 35 countries that now work for us. And we're a very integrated law enforcement agency as a whole. And it's an often fact that people overlook because of the rhetoric and the things that seem to get reported. You know, if it leads kind of reporting. I'm not saying that we're totally innocent here, don't get me wrong, but a lot of times it's the negative news that always gets the lion's share of the media also.
You know, and some of the changes, even though this was a litigation focused on Latinos, the changes impact on everybody. All of it. Better police service to all of you, not just Latinos. You know, it's going to give you all a better police department. It doesn't matter what your race or ethnic background is. And in reality, the bottom line, it's not going to be whether this succeeds or not. It's not going to be what we say. It's going to be what you say. It's going to be what you, the bottom line, when you say, has my police department gotten better? Has they gotten more responsive? Am I getting a better policeman? A better policeman? You know, are they respecting me? It doesn't matter what the monitor says. We'll come with scorecards. Fail, pass, fail, whatever it is. But if you're unhappy at the end of the day, you're still not seeing changes. Doesn't matter what the numbers say. You know, that's going to be that's going to be the real market that really counts. The user can even say, yeah, our department got better. It didn't have to run away because those changes have run away. And in reality, even though the change comes from the top, you want to see the change in the depth because that's your day-to-day contact. You're not going to see me, you're not going to see Chief Sheridan, you're not going to see some of the people who start here all the time. You're going to see your local deputy. That's the person that's going to give you either better policing or give you lousy policing. So you're going to be the real scorecard in all this, sometime in the future. What are we going to do?
Sir, yeah, I want to thank the Chief.
Chief Sheridan.
Sorry, I don't know your name, sir.
Sheridan.
Sheridan. Thank you for the invitation to that. You mentioned the word trust, and which reminded me of a little story. I was cutting the grass and I was dressed with a straw hat and all the garb that one uses to cut the grass and everything. And I needed about 2 blocks away to go to the post office, and I was followed and stopped and asked for my license and so forth. And since then, there's always a mistrust here. And to gain the trust, it takes years. And so is there a process going on that will build trust amongst the citizens so that I can go in peace and be in peace and trust and really believe that Chief is asking for help? What process is there?
And that's the whole process of the order. And the law the order is not something that they created. The order follows the law. And the law is very clear that it says police actions have to be race neutral. I mean, I'm not going to stop you just because you have a hat and a sweatshirt and you're sweaty, so on and so forth. And because you look Latino or you look African American or you look Caucasian or you look female, that adds no value to any police action. It has to be value as, there's information that a person 6'5", 200 pounds, just committed a robbery from 7-Eleven. You see somebody that's 6'5", 200 pounds walking down the street, then that's why you're stopping. You're not stopping because he's 6'5" and 200 pounds. You're stopping because there's information that somebody meeting that description is walking down the street. So it is illegal for an officer to take action just based on race. Old people from one group always do this. Old people from that group are more likely to sell drugs. Old people from this other group are more likely to use drugs. That's illegal. It's against the law. It's against federal law. And people have gone to jail for doing this. So how do we change that? The code rule that I was having in Maricopa County Sheriff's Office, that they were using race as a factor, to do that. And part of the training is tell them, you can't, if you were doing it before, you can't do it before. And the policy stated, and what's going to happen is, if you continue, you're going to get fired. You're going to get arrested. So if you're willing to go out there and use racial profiling in your action, buddy, you're going to go. Because the department has set up metrics, they've created reports. When they stop somebody, there has to be tracked. They're stopping you for what purpose? What's your race, ethnicity, and for what reason did I stop them? Because you look suspicious? What about you makes you suspicious? We all have our own little personal bias. That's something you can't leave at home, but you have to leave it home as far as policing. When you come to work, you got to store that, put it in your pocket, and don't let it influence your law enforcement tactics. At home, that's what you do with your dog, your cat, so on and so forth. But when you come to work, that little bias that we all may have, you better put away, lock it, because it cannot affect your decisions to make law enforcement. And the order is very clear. The law is very clear. The order is not based on something that the judge created. It's the law. It's federal law. And that law will be implemented. And hopefully the implementation that will not cost anybody their job if it doesn't. Too bad, so sad. Hopefully, implementation will not cost somebody to go to jail, but if they do, shame on them. But that's why the training is occurring first. If we're you cannot do this. If you were doing it before, that's the past. But from now on, if you do it, it's going to happen. I think so. Nobody said, well, nobody told me, or I remember 8 years ago or 10 years ago when somebody said that I could do this one. You got to train them first. We train them first. And it's not just one training. You're going to do it once, and every year there's going to be retraining or new changes in the law and little nuances that may have happened, so on and so forth. So nobody said, hey, nobody told me. You want your cops to be equipped not just with the best equipment, but the best knowledge of what can you do and what can you not do. And there's always going to be officer discretion. General Doherty is here. He's part of our team. He's a retired Army general. And in the military, most operations are a group. A team goes in, so on and so forth. Police don't operate their own. It's a single officer making a discretionary call on what he or she sees, and based on factors, they're going to react, make a decision pretty quick. Some decisions are split second. You hope that they make the right decision, and typically right decisions are made because of training. If they've been trained in decision making, they've been trained on how to use the firearm, they've been trained on how to use all the other weaponry that they've been provided. And hopefully, all that makes sense in that split second, he or she makes the right decision. But the trust you're right, the trust is not going to happen. That trust that they live in you is going to stay in the back of your mind for 4 years. Until you do it, you're wearing the same garb, and you're walking down the street, you're going to feel a glass of water over there, and the police says, hey, sir, how are you? And 6 months, hey, how are you doing? And you want to ride? And they say, hey, they're kidding. They're not approaching me because how I look. They're approaching me as a human being, as a person that lives here, who I have no reason to suspect him. I have no reason to follow him for 2, 3, 5 minutes to see what I catch. I got better things to do.
Can I add to that too? I've been driving a patrol. I drove a patrol car for almost 2 decades. I've worked with the sheriff's office 36 years. I hate it when there's a cop car behind me. Even if it's a sheriff's car, and they all work for me. It's just that power, that sense of power and intimidation by the very being of that car, with the lights on it, with the stickers that glow in the dark, and you know there's a person in there that can stop you and take your liberty away like that. I think we all feel that. And then we all remember, stopped one time, we got a traffic ticket for a Phoenix motorcycle stop. I don't like motorcycles to this day. But I think we all as human beings feel that intimidation and that power, even us in the business. I know myself, I can't speak for the other law enforcement officers in the room. But that's something that's inherent, and that's why it's important for us to make sure we keep that power in check. I don't know why you were stopped, whether it was because you had a hat on, or why you were dressed, or if you got a ticket or not, and all those things. But those issues, I kind of make this argument, it's difficult on a traffic stop to see who's driving in the car, especially if you're driving. Play a game with yourself tonight when you're driving home. If you were a police officer, a deputy sheriff, highway patrol, and you were going to make a traffic stop on a car in front of you, try to figure out who's in that car before you stop. It's very difficult, especially when most but even during the day, cars speed by, whatever, it's difficult. So there's a lot of factors that go into why we stop cars. Pretextual stops, I know, is an issue that is not appropriate for law enforcement officers to make. And that's what we're getting at the heart of this. If somebody looks like they're, let's face it, in this case, in Melendrez v. Ohio, with a Hispanic, stop a car because of the Hispanic driving, that is absolutely not. Yes.
Chief, would you agree that if there's a segment of the Hispanic community in Maricopa County that has been told, and through experiences, they believe that they're more likely to be pulled over because they're brown skinned versus somebody else, that that's a real problem? It's something that the sheriff and you and everybody works from wants to solve.
Right, and that's what I talked about a little earlier, is that perception of what is going on and the reality. One of the things that we will be able to do because of the track system that we're putting in place, and that has been in effect since April 1st, we will have real data to show the public, and we're going to make that available. The Bureau of Internal Oversight. I don't know why I have a middle line with that. We are setting up a separate website where they will post the findings of all these audits on a quarterly basis, separate from the Sheriff's Office website. And there will be links from the county website and the Sheriff's website to that, to make that information public to anybody that wants to view that.
Sheriff, Sheriff.
Sheriff, please. Yeah, okay. No, I'm not a sheriff. I didn't want that to get out because I might get.
Unlike you, I have a different image in my mind when I see a law enforcement car behind me in certain instances. I was traveling with a car full of my 5 children, and I was driving at what I thought was the speed limit. I was stopped, and I told the officer, I said, I'm convinced that I was driving within the speed limit. And he says, well, we have a way to check that. Let me go ahead of you and flash the lights when you hit such and such a speed. In point of fact, my speedometer was off, and I thanked him profusely for helping me drive safely with my car full of children. And as soon as I got to my destination, I had the speedometer repaired. So, unlike you, I don't have fear of police officer training.
I do.
I just want to add to that little story. Because when I was stopped, I had no idea. I didn't even ask. I just took my wallet out and showed the license, and I told them that I needed to go and mail something really quick. So I just left. When I came back, I mean, it took 1 second for them to give me my license, and they blew away. And I didn't even have a chance to ask why. But I never gave it a thought until later of why it happened. I mean, I've been a principal for 34 years,
And he
worked-
does clean up pretty good
No,
sometimes.
he does, yeah.
Sometimes.
and worked with kids all my life. Born here, I'm an American. And so after it happened, I mean, I felt dumbfounded.
And unfortunately, incidents like that, you go home, you tell your family tells anybody else. So that little incident, you know, policemen are given a lot of power. We have huge power. Stop, come here, put the handcuffs on you based on my state, you know. I can create scenarios if I'm a bad policeman. Luckily for all of us, most policemen are not that. Luckily for all of us, agencies such as the ACLU are looking over shoulders of police departments to make sure that those couple that are there are only a couple, not a policy, not a practice and pattern, which is why lawsuits like this occur. But even though policemen would love to have a free reign, you don't want policemen to be free reign. I don't want policemen to be free reign because ex-policemen for many years. You know. We need guidance, we need rules, we need oversight, we need boundaries because that stuff that was affected on you, whatever happened, so on and so forth, you're still talking about it. And it happened when?
Oh, around the time of 1070. 4 years.
So and it's still in your mind.
Yeah.
It's still affected. So it's not something that went away. You know, I bought a lottery ticket, I didn't went and throw it away. It doesn't matter. You play again with whatever you have to take. It's something that stays in your mind, and you keep talking to people about that. You know, and it takes an agency a long time for you to say, but yeah, look, they said, yeah, but you see, he could have written me a ticket. If they wrote me a ticket, he said, follow me, he helped them, and could have prevented from getting into an accident, you know, in the future. We do that, and that's, you know, and that's what we're looking for. That policeman that goes the extra step to help the community versus just, you know, the old, you know, drag, just the facts. You know, that was policing in the 50s and the 40s. That I guess it worked well back then, but that policing in the 50s and the 40s, that policing in the year 2014, after 2000, you know, the police department is here to help. And the police department has a lot of powers, but those powers are within boundaries. If we step out of the boundaries, but people are going to call us out, and that's why this is not the only agency that's under this type of supervision. There's dozens of agencies under this type of supervision. Some are doing well, some are doing not so well to do that because, you know, it happens. It happens, and the job of the manager of the police department to make sure that there's no policies, and not just policies, but it's simple to write policy. I can sit there in the office and write policy all day long, but it's somebody following those policies. You know, somebody's checking that those policies are being followed. And how do you feel about those policies? You know, does the community like those policies? You know, what type of police are there? That's the real proof of the proof. For you to, when we go back here, where it's the second time we come here, or the third time, or the fourth time, or the fifth time, not physically here, so somewhere that may get me about a place, and tell you, I've seen it here. You know, it's a private police. It's not 100% because nothing, very few things in life are 100%. You know, but that you're seeing that change of the attitude of police officers, how they're treating you, how they're treating your neighbor, you know, how they're operating, you know, and that's real. That's what the judge is looking for. You know, not just a number that they score.
This morning, a couple of us had a meeting with a congressman from California who's Hispanic, and he wanted to ask us a few questions, and he said, what is wrong with your sheriff? Anywhere I go, I get the question, what's wrong with your sheriff? Now, I've met Sheriff Ohio, he seems like a humble, nice guy, but the perception that he has is directly related to how do we develop trust. He's known as exceedingly hard on crime. He takes pride in what he has done in the past. When he was first given orders by judges, he basically said, try to make me do them. Now he has suddenly come around. But how are we ever going to trust the deputies if we can't trust Sheriff Arpaio?
Well, I can tell you this, nothing in the order makes that department be less enforcement related. They're going to make as many arrests as they want to. Nowhere does it say you can't arrest Hispanics or African Americans or Caucasians or people with 5'2". There's nothing in there that prevents them from making any arrests from probable cause, but that's the law whether they do it here or they do it in Miami, where I'm from. You're going to have probable cause before you arrest somebody. And there's a whole menu of prosecutors, defense attorneys, and appeals that a person has. The trust factor, I'm not a politician, the whole order has nothing to do with politicians.
We got 2 more years at Sheriff Arpaio minimum.
But again, the change is in the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. And the order says, on the Sheriff Arpaio or whomever is there, whether it's going to be him 2 years from now, whether it's going to be somebody else, 2 years, 6 years, 12 years, 14 years from now. I mean, the order doesn't address that. It doesn't care. They want a good police department that follows the truth. Whoever the sheriff is the sheriff. And this sheriff is going to have to be committed to do this, and the proof is going to be you. That you're going to be able to say, that congressman that comes from California, say, hey, I hear your police department is doing well. I hear that you're happy with the results of your police. It doesn't matter who the sheriff is. If the agency is doing well, if that deputy that stopped you, that helped you, that's the one that's going to make you change your mind. Because you're not going to see that sheriff that much. You're not going to see the sheriff that much. Chief Carly, meetings like this with the chief, where the rubber meets the road is really, you want to shut it off.
Chief, would you mind if I help answer that? Because I've worked very closely with the sheriff. I know him very well, and I'll tell you 3 very quick stories about what I know, the Joe Arpaio that I know is different than the Joe Arpaio that the public sees. Part of that is the sheriff's persona that he likes to project, okay? And part of it is created by the media. But the Sheriff Arpaio I know, I'll tell you a quick story. When I was a captain, I got a phone call one day from the sheriff. He wanted to see me right away. And he called me down to his office, and he said, Jerry, you ready for change? And I said, sure, Sheriff. And he says, oh, you want to go to Gila Bend? And I go, I live in Mountain Hills. Gila Bend's a long way from there. Of course, I said yes, because you always tell me yes, right? And he says, well, no, he says, I want to promote you to chief over the patrol bureau. It's an appointed position. Once you're a captain, then the sheriff kind of picks you. And he said, sit down. I want to tell you my philosophy on how I want you to do things. He says, I want you to do 2 things for me. I thought I was going to get a 3-hour speech or something. He says, I want you to do 2 things for me. He says, I want you to make sure your deputies are out there arresting all the bad guys they can. And while they're doing that, make sure they're taking good care of all the good people they can. Like getting a cat out of a tree and changing somebody's tire. You got that? I said, yes, sir. He said, that's number 1. He said, number 2, make sure they're having fun doing number 1, because I want my deputies to be happy that they're better deputies. Those are my marching orders from Joe Arpaio. Okay. So when I went out there, that was my philosophy, and I knew that's the Joe Arpaio I know. The other Joe Arpaio I know is when he asked me 4 years ago, we had a problem with the former chief deputies and some issues, some very big issues. Okay. He calls me in his office and he looks at me and he goes, Jerry, I just put chief deputy on administrative leave. I want you to be the interim chief deputy. I need you to do something. What's that? And he looked at me in a very quiet moment and he said, I need you to help me fix this. And so that,
We didn't hear you.
I'm sorry.
We didn't hear you.
He said in a very quiet voice, which is very unlike him, I need you to help me fix this. And so that's what I've been trying to do for the last 4 years.
Maybe you can help fix the sheriff's problem.
I am going to leave that one alone. Maybe, why don't you quit?
I haven't seen him for a few years. I haven't seen him for a few years.
One last comment,
Yes,
because
ma'am.
I think it's pertinent. It is to be appreciated, the effort that I think the department is making, whether it's the face of Your Arpaio, it's just the face of Your Arpaio. There's 3,800 people out there working, and we've always had a really good relationship where we live for 30 years, with our police department. And I am aware of others where, they're just as good, and I do have a couple of nephews that are in the sheriff's department elsewhere. What is problematic right now, and I think it's very problematic for all of us, is the fact that perception is half the game, if not 90% of it. And right now, with social media and the access that we have to instant views of everything that's going on, none of us are immune to the impact that recent happenings elsewhere have made on us. And that alone, people don't make a differentiation between a local police department, a sheriff's department, or a National Guard. To them, it's authority and it's misused authority. And so I do feel for you, because in as much as some of the measures that you put in place are going to be, going to bring us forward, I still remember around the time of 1070 when things happened that you would not have expected in your own local police, but they were induced by some of the attitudes that they felt they saw higher up at the sheriff's office, and that they could impunity go to somebody in a house that made a complaint about the neighbors next door, and because the person answering the door was Hispanic, to respond to, yeah, this is what's happening next door. What's your name? Where were you born? What's your social security number? Those are not normally questions that are asked of a person making a complaint. They might come in and say, so what happened? But not, first let me figure out who you are. So when that happens, that's another transposition of that fear that the community builds up. And we've been very lucky. We've been in this country for many, many years, 1800s. But others who are not so lucky and who are fearful of seeing a police officer at their door, it's going to take a lot. And I really do appreciate the fact that I think it's the officers themselves. Because the office itself, Office of Maricopa County Sheriff, it's going to take a long time. I still remember when I used to work for the state, and whenever I went around, I took my little shield, my little name tag, and turned it around, because I would be asked, oh, you work for, and you all know who that was, right? Back in the 80s. The same thing is going to happen to most of us around here. And I think that we all need to recognize that it's the attitude and the behavior of the officer that's going to change our feelings as a community. We can do all we can to spread the word that good things are happening, and we will. But it's up to that individual officer on the street, carrying themselves with dignity, with friendliness, unless you're apprehending an obviously bad person, and even there, you have to have respect for their lives.
Any other comments, thoughts, ideas?
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming. Ms. Juan, Soler,
Thank you.
Chief Sheridan, members of the Sheriff's Office, and members of the Monitoring Team. And appreciate your coming over, and we'll look for a better place the next time. Hopefully we'll see you in a few months again.